Greetings, fellow scholars of the livestream. I'm Kutakuma from the Cosmo Observatory, and today we are continuing the analysis of all new elements pertaining to Cloud and Sephiroth in the Final Fantasy VII Remake first installment. We highly recommend that you watch all the previous parts visible on screen before continuing, just so you can receive the full context. You can find the continuously growing playlist in the info card up there. Still here? Fantastic! Strap in and enjoy the next segment of our journey. Caution, spoilers ahead. The next Sephiroth appearance and memory glitch happens right after the spectacular Cosmos Theater presentation in the Shinra building's Visual Entertainment Hall on floor 61, where we experience the history of the ancients. The Shinra logo appears to mark the end of the presentation. However, just as the lights go back on, purple glitches appear in 3D space around them, forming the image of a street on Midgar's Sector 4 plate. Why Sector 4? Because the street sign above contains a fork junction leading to Mako Reactor 5 to the right and Sector 3 to the left. Why Sector 4 specifically? Maybe it provided the best view on the Shinra building for this fantastic wallpaper shot of Cloud and Sephiroth? Or maybe because the clip this pre-rendered showcase is based on depicts the original game's ending, where Meteor descends upon Midgar, in which the Shinra building is shown from the perspective of Sector 4 twice. Anyway, in this additional presentation, which definitely isn't part of the usual programming, we not only experience Meteor Fall, but also something else. Sephiroth shows Cloud a few extra images, namely, the apparition of the black-robed figure, and an image of himself, who then supposedly kills Tifa and Barret in front of Cloud's eyes. The presentation ends with Sephiroth and Cloud standing back-to-back against each other, posing for wallpaper screenshots, and then Cloud utters Sephiroth's name. Now, what does this all mean, and how is this additional display even possible? When climbing the stairs to floor 61, the automatic guide talks about
Shinra's cutting-edge technology.
Shinra is mainly in the Mako business nowadays, so it stands to reason that this virtual reality is induced using modern Mako technology. The lasers scanning our trio emit a Mako green light after all. Besides scanning their shape for accurate positioning within the simulation, we think that their perception is altered by using minuscule and precise Mako infusion to imprint the presentation onto the spectators. There are more visual pieces of evidence for this. For one, there are multiple big Mako pipes running into this visual entertainment hall called Cosmos Theater, likely pumping in more Mako than it needs to run. For another, the whole interior architecture goes invisible. This can be seen best by the disappearing lines along the dome. Furthermore, the control pillar in the center, the immediate ground around it, as well as the circle where our characters are standing, dissolve into fragments. The rest of the ground and circular steps fall into the depths below, leaving spectators seemingly floating in midair, which they most certainly are not. This makes sense if we consider VR battles. The battle area is much larger than the dome's interior, and the control pillar in the center is also never an issue. The same goes for the portable version, where the surroundings seem to be irrelevant. Or do you really think Cloud and the others are running around hitting innocent citizens in Sector 5 in Wall Market? Lastly, episode Intermission provides us with the final piece of the puzzle. Upon destroying the projector in the combat simulator prototype, Yuffie and Sona disappear into the same particles defeated enemies are. In conclusion, what participants see and experience, including their own movements, only happens in their mind and not in reality. A memory infusion, if you will. Anyway, back to Sephiroth's presentation. Mako is just another word for livestream, where Sephiroth currently resides, which might be the reason why he's able to connect to Shinra's presentation and inject memories cooked up by him. After all, Tifa and Barret can see the images of Midgar and Meteor as well. However, only Cloud sees the Sephiroth-related elements, as the others certainly would react differently. Barret only complains about this presentation not being for kids, and Tifa asks about Meteor. Nothing related to the black-robed figure, Sephiroth, or them being killed off.
Crazy ass thing made me want to puke. And not just because of the presentation, but the content too. Ought to come with a warning. That ain't for kids.
That wasn't just a movie.
That huge meteor, what was that about?
The Ultimania also confirms that Sephiroth is only visible to Cloud. Cloud also experiences another glitched vision here, triggered by the destruction of Midgar. He sees Meteor from space, Aerith praying on the altar, and the holy materia underwater. We know it's a vision of the future because it starts with this green glitch effect, which happens again when transitioning to Aerith and then back to Cloud, who even holds his hand against his head, as if in pain. Aerith and Holy were both working together to save the planet from Meteor, so this vision effectively shows Cloud the outcome of the catastrophe, which Sephiroth shows to them. We also get a bit of a better view on praying Aerith in this vision, which shows again that this scene was completely recreated and not taken from a scene in the movie Advent Children. The holy materia resting and glowing on the pond floor is also not a scene from Advent Children, but the original game. Meteor breaking through the clouds, another metaphor for Sephiroth trying to break Cloud, is also a new creation, as the Advent Children version includes the livestream. But that's most likely due to this scene being a pre-rendered movie created by Visual Works, and not the people responsible for in-engine scenes or the touched-up Advent Children clips. Back to Sephiroth, his illusion begins with purple glitch effects. A similar effect happens when the camera cuts from the hooded figure back to Cloud and when the fleeing crowd appears. The effect when this hooded figure teleports and later turns into Sephiroth is also colored in purple. What we believe the real message in this presentation to be is rather subtle and can probably only be decoded by those familiar with the whole story. Notice that the black-robed man doesn't show a number, and the Jenova symbol on his back is halfway faded away. Two distinct differences from number 2 and 49, as well as numbers 11, 16, and 20 from episode Intermission. All those details lead to the following conclusion. Sephiroth conveys to Cloud that he's just another Sephiroth clone who will be responsible for the death of his friends. In the original game, Sephiroth claimed that Cloud has been constructed by Hojo 5 years ago, and that he's essentially just a puppet, one with memories created by the power of Jenova by merging Tifa's memories with his own. However, he was a failure, an incomplete Sephiroth clone, not even given a number. This figure in the black robe, therefore, represents Cloud, how Sephiroth describes him in the original game. It also has no number tattoo, and the incomplete Jenova symbol coincides with Cloud being a failed clone. A Sephiroth clone. That's why the figure transforms into Sephiroth. Killing Tifa and Barret is just a metaphor for how Sephiroth could take over Cloud at any time and use him as a puppet to do whatever he wants. This happens twice in the original game. Once at the Temple of the Ancients, where he forces Cloud to hand over the black materia, and at the Forgotten City, where he almost makes Cloud cleave Aerith in half. The last image, with them standing back to back, reinforces this notion. Sephiroth is always there, his master and superior. There's another interpretation for why we see Sephiroth kill Barret and Tifa here. Sephiroth does kill Barret later in Chapter 17, but the Whispers bring him back. Nothing happened to Tifa thus far, but it might in future games. However, we don't think that Sephiroth will now skewer Tifa instead of Aerith or anything like that. Instead, Tifa could be presumed dead for a while, or die in one of Cloud's hallucinations at some point in the future, for example. One last thing. Sephiroth still doesn't seem to be able to enter Cloud's mind when he doesn't suffer from a flashback connected to Sephiroth, so he uses the Mako in this cutting-edge technology as a pathway. We presume it's future Sephiroth showing us this presentation, because it features an event from the ordained future. Original Sephiroth sitting in the northern crater has no knowledge of Cloud yet, let alone the future. Increasing Cloud's active hatred and visual memories of Sephiroth would strengthen the connection between Jenova, number 2, and Marco, and thus allow original Sephiroth to project his own image onto the latter two, which is what happens in the very next scene. Right after Cloud utters Sephiroth's name, we switch to Palmer, who is walking along the red carpet leading past President Shinra's office on the 70th floor and not on the 69th as the label wants you to believe. When we run along this gallery later and enter the president's office through that door, the label correctly says 70th floor. Anyway, back to Palmer, who is lamenting about missing the lard in his precious tea when he suddenly drops both cup and saucer after seeing a ghost, or so he thinks. For the first time, somebody else besides Cloud is able to see Sephiroth as if he really existed, which shouldn't be possible, but it is, and here's why. Remember the two black-robed men with the numbers 2 and 49 tattooed on their left shoulder? One of them made it all the way up here and now appears as Sephiroth thanks to the illusory abilities of Jenova cells. The Ultimania confirms this fact and even tells us that it's Marco we see here, number 49. But why does Sephiroth appear only now and in this specific instance? The most likely scenario is a synergetic effect between Cloud, his memories, the black-robed men, and Jenova, which allowed Jenova to fully activate the clones and have one of them appear as Sephiroth to everyone and help initiate the reunion. But this alone isn't enough. It seems that, while within Shinra's new cutting-edge technology dome, Cloud remembering Sephiroth initiated a chain reaction through the whole Shinra building's network, leading to connecting Cloud's memories of Sephiroth to one or even both black-robed figures, providing the Jenova cells within them to change their appearance to that of Sephiroth. This is how it would work if it was future Sephiroth showing us this illusion. But why does Sephiroth need to appear now and not later? In the original, nobody gave a crap as nobody knew about his quasi-survival. But appearing to Palmer spreads the news and memories of Sephiroth like wildfire.
If I may, sir, there was one other matter.
Oh?
A message from our man Palmer.
I'm telling you, I saw him! With my own eyes, sauntering down the corridor!
We don't have time for this nonsense!
He was as close to me as you are now. The shock of it made me spill my tea!
Enough already!
This is most likely how he already has so much power at this point and is able to manipulate the clones as well as conjure up an illusion of Jenova. One little thing before we proceed. The English translation of one of Hart's lines in the next scene is a bit misleading.
The visual entertainment hall has been experiencing technical difficulties of late, and he suspected that these difficulties might impede your progress.
This suggests that those technical difficulties started recently, but also happened before this incident just now, which is wrong. In the Japanese version, he says the following. Because we noticed a strange system error on the visual floor, he wondered if you, Avalanche, were in trouble. Here, Hart refers to just one specific system error that happened once. Nothing about recurring difficulties. The German version is practically a literal translation in this case, so only the English one stands out. This confirms that the display of Meteor in Sephiroth was a one-time only occurrence. Mayor Domino tells the group to meet an Avalanche sympathizer in the cafeteria on the 63rd floor. After receiving another keycard, the group wants to leave, but is cut off by two Shinra security officers who are coming their way. One of them gets tense and is about to stand them up as the other one recognizes Cloud and stops his comrade.
Cloud? Huh? You're Cloud, right? Holy shit! It's cool, bro. We went through training together. Damn! So you're still alive and kicking, huh? Some of the guys heard you got smoked, but I told them it was all bullshit. Hey, sit tight, man. I'm gonna go get Kunsel. I'll be right back.
This scene is entirely new and reviews a tiny bit more of Cloud's past. Naturally, his messed up mind suppresses this memory immediately, as he would otherwise remember his past as a Shinra infantryman in Nibelheim 5 years ago, and not as a soldier, as he currently believes. The track which starts playing here is also very fitting. It's the remake's version of Who Are You? In the original game, it plays in the room in Honeybee Inn, when Cloud looks at Jenova in the Shinra building, before waking up in Lower Junon, and when Tifa wakes up from her 7-day coma in Junon. each time, it's connected to Cloud's repressed past, and the person talking to the protagonist is unknown.
Old buddy.
You okay?
Yeah,
But you were just...
I'm good. Let's keep moving.
Eventually, they find Aerith, but Hojo is already a step ahead and prepared a small squadron of Shinra combatants for them to fight. After an easy victory, Cloud seems a bit too cocky, which leads Hojo to look a bit closer and shamelessly spill the beans.
Well, no matter. Reinforcements will soon arrive.
But will they get here in time to save you from me? Yeah.
No, not quite. Oh, now I recall. My memory was mistaken. My boy, you weren't a soldier.
Before Hojo can speak any further, Cloud's mind blocks out the truth, as we can see by the green glitch effect. Furthermore, a number of whispers appear to carry Hojo away to prevent him from revealing even more. Lucky for Cloud, getting Aerith out of her tank, defeating armored troopers, and being surprised by Red 13 distracts the group enough to prevent them from asking any questions. Thanks to the whispers, Hojo forgets the memory he recalled just a minute ago, that he experimented on Cloud 5 years ago, a mere infantryman, and gave him the standard soldier treatment. If it wasn't for Zack, Cloud would probably have ended up just like all those other poor tattooed souls now wandering around, eventually joining the reunion. Although, Cloud ends up doing that anyway. Despite Cloud's differences to those Sephiroth clones, he still succumbs to the call of the reunion as the party approaches Jenova's tank in the drum. It seems that this corridor and the cylindrical elevator reminds Cloud of going after Sephiroth in the Nibelheim reactor and seeing Jenova with his own eyes, hence the Jenova flashes. While we direct Cloud towards the elevator, we hear some of Sephiroth's words he utters when facing his mother in the Nibelheim reactor, with Cloud reacting audibly to those memories.
I have come for you.
Jen.
Mother. Together we will reclaim our world. Mother. They have come again.
What's curious about those lines is that they're spoken by Sephiroth when Zack was facing him. Cloud came in later, just as Zack is being thrown out of Jenova's chamber, defeated. Even in the original story, Cloud is not supposed to know exactly what transpired within the chamber. Anyway, upon reaching the elevator, it visually turns into this similar looking Jenova's tank. This traumatic memory of facing Sephiroth, combined with the proximity to Jenova and the still lingering urge to follow the reunion, seemed to be enough for Cloud to lose it and give in. He even gives off noises similar to the black-cloaked people in the original, as well as the black robes number 11, 16, and 20 Yuffie encounters while roaming the outskirts of Sector 7. This is the first of two instances where the remake recreates Cloud's episode in front of Jenova's tank in the original after seeing the monstrosity inside. Just turned up to 11 and moved to after getting Aerith out of captivity. What we find very strange, however, is the fact that nobody even bothers to go after Cloud and check on him before he collapses. Maybe they didn't quite understand what was going on, or were unsure of what to do. Since Cloud never had an episode at this moment in the original, even Aerith might be caught by surprise, even if she generally knows what's wrong with Cloud, especially after a similar scene in Chapter 8. Still, It's quite strange that nobody asks any questions or even mentions anything in relation to this scene or even Hojo's revelation earlier, which must have been heard by the others, right? Not now, not later in Aerith's former home, or even afterwards on their way to the drum. When the group enters the elevator, Cloud sees a black feather floating towards the ground, just as the elevator doors are closing. This is the second time Cloud sees such a feather. However, something's different. This feather looks real. It doesn't disappear in the smoke like the first time. Nonetheless, it's a mere illusion, and like last time, it heralds another Sephiroth appearance. As we see later, he appears to be real and corporeal. That's why the feather Cloud sees here also appears real. But that's not all. Have you noticed the melody that's playing while the feather falls? Remember this track from Advent Children? It plays while Rufus is telling Cloud about Geostigma and Sephiroth. Fitting foreshadowing. It's the setup for Advent Children's plot, and it also contains the following line, which, incidentally, contains the aforementioned melody.
Sephiroth. Reborn.
This track from Advent Children is incidentally called Sign, very fitting for this feather's appearance. Side note, Final Fantasy VII's main theme contains a similar melody when it transitions to the sinister part. This is yet another subtle but strong piece of evidence that we're dealing with a Sephiroth from the future who wants to be reborn. However, the Sephiroth we see during Chapter 17 is a rather curious one. And with that, we conclude this segment of the journey through Cloud's and Sephiroth's mysteries. Thank you so much for watching! If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and select all notifications to be immediately notified when the next part of this analysis releases. Have you noticed anything we didn't? Disagree on some points or have any other feedback for us? Please let us know in the comments, or better yet, check out our Discord server and right away in the Observatory channel. We also release additional content on Twitter, like Viz's infamous CCO gems, so follow us there as well if you're so inclined. Furthermore, huge thanks to all our Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters. Your contribution is invaluable. You guys are the best. Stay safe and take care. Kutakuma signing off.